First off, happy World Whiskey Month, a time when whiskey lovers around the globe come together to pay tribute to our beloved water of life and get a taste of some of the most unique, rare, and delicious expressions on the market. After all, a month all about whiskey, what's not to love? We're really excited for you to be here with us today as we share not just one, but two amazing new releases to celebrate what has to be one of our favorite months of the year. We promise this will be worth your while. World Whiskey Month is always a time for reflecting on the glory of the past and remembering the innovators who have influenced whiskey history to get us to where we are today. It's for this reason that there was no better time to unveil the next chapter in our Trinitas series, celebrating the legacy and evolution of Japanese whiskey. When we introduced the first Trinitas bottle on New Year's Eve, fans rushed to get a bottle. In a matter of hours, all the bottles were sold out. Today, we'll be adding to the Trinitas range with two new expressions, unlike any other you'll have the chance to purchase this year. Before we show you the bottles, I'd like to give you a little recap on the background of the Trinitas range. For anyone who tuned in New Year's Eve, you've heard this before, but it's a story worth telling again. For many years, Japanese whiskey struggled to gain worldwide recognition and success. The years it took to age the liquid created cash flow problems, which was compounded by the fact that, at the time, the local Japanese market preferred other types of spirits like sochu and sake. The global market was still obsessed with scotch and bourbon, leaving Japanese distilleries in poor financial condition. The result was that many of these distilleries, which pioneered the Japanese whiskey we know and love today, were forced to close their doors. This was one of the saddest times for the industry. One of the most famous of these now silent operations was the Hanyu Distillery. In the midst of war in 1941, the Akuto family built the Hanyu Distillery and obtained a license to produce alcohol in 1946. The Akuto family had been in the brewing business since the 1600s and established an outstanding reputation for delivering high-quality spirits. After experiencing Scottish single malts, they developed a passion for the remarkable spirits and were driven to produce their own Japanese single malts. Their efforts pushed Japanese whiskey forward, but the local Japan market wasn't receptive at the time. Eventually, Hanyu were forced to close their doors in 2000. In the years since their closure, Japanese whiskey has exploded in popularity. The liquid that they struggled to sell has now become some of the most prized in the world. It's now recognized as some of the best whiskey ever produced, and enthusiasts have scrambled to find bottles. The huge demand and limited supply has caused prices to soar. At auction, Hanyu bottles often sell for tens of thousands of dollars, putting those bottles out of reach for all but the most elite collectors. And even those who can afford these bottles rarely open them. The liquid is locked away in sealed bottles that are never enjoyed. Towards the end of 2018, we knew that we wanted this to change, and so we released the first Trinitas bottling on New Year's Eve, containing some of the limited amounts of Hanyu liquid that remain, and it was lapped up by people around the globe. After all, who doesn't want to try spirit from this legendary Japanese distillery? But we weren't finished there. We got an outpouring of great feedback on this initial release, with the lucky individuals who purchased a bottle being absolutely delighted with the rare opportunity to put a treasured piece of whiskey history into their spirits cabinet. With this in mind, we decided we needed to keep going and put more of this legendary spirit into the hands of those who wanted to try it, and at a price that is affordable for anyone. Since the first release, we've been working diligently to produce two new expressions that push the Trinitas range forward in celebrating the legacy of the Hanyu Distillery and make it accessible to more collectors and drinkers alike. Much like the first release, we started by taking whiskey from one of Hanyu's remaining casks and used that as a base for a blended expression that would showcase the unique character and traits of the distillery. What did we come up with this time? Let's take a look. Introducing the newest Trinitas exclusives, Trinitas No. 2, the Legendary Warrior, and Trinitas number 3, the Silent Geisha. As with the previous release, San Mi Itai, or Trinitas in Latin, is a tribute to the founders of the Hanyu Distillery. These great craftsmen produced Japanese whiskey that was ahead of its time and were instrumental in developing the industry into a recognized leader around the world. The bottlings pay homage to blender Shimazaki, blender Inoue, and former president Mr. Akudo, the father of Japanese whiskey legend Ichiro Akudo. Both of these new releases are remarkable single cask blends that perfectly capture the essence and spirit of Hanyu. By having the best blenders in the industry combine original Hanyu whiskey with carefully selected malts, the result is spectacular. The 3 pioneers celebrated by the bottles would each be proud. The first new bottle released today, and the second release in the Trinitas series, is the Legendary Warrior, an expression celebrating resilience, a fitting symbol in the history of Japanese whiskey as the industry has overcome years of struggle and adversity to become the most prized liquid in the world. Just as the contributions of the most famous warriors are not fully recognized until after their death, the Hanyu Distillery has only risen to new heights of fame after the stills have stopped. This immaculate release, bottled from cask number 5002, bears a beautiful illustration of a Japanese warrior that will be a powerful force among any whiskey collection. The Silent Geisha, the second new release today and the third bottle in Trinitas series, celebrates humility. In Japanese culture, humility is not just celebrated as a virtue, it is a way of life. Arrogance and boasting simply have no place in traditional Japanese conduct. Instead, the Japanese believe in drawing attention to the achievements and accolades of others, even if that means belittling themselves in the process. This characteristic is symbolic of the great influencers celebrated by the Trinitas series. These honorable individuals were great stewards of humility, always seeking to build up the industry, no matter how it impacted their own interests. This outstanding release, bottled from cask number 5003, showcases an elegant geisha that will add a silent aura of strength to your top shelf. In keeping with our desire to allow more people to experience whiskey from this notable silent distillery, we're really ecstatic to offer these bottles for just $349 each, or for a limited time, you can save $100 when you buy the pair. That's just $598 for both bottles. With the huge amount of interest in Hanyu whiskey and the first Trinitas release, we expect these bottles to sell out very quickly. And once they're gone, they're gone. As stocks of Hanyu become increasingly scarce, it's unlikely you'll see a bottle of this caliber again, especially not at this price. As a special bonus for tuning in, we're giving you a bit of a head start before these bottles are listed for sale to the general public. Click the link below and you can immediately reserve your bottles. So don't delay, reserve your bottles of this legendary liquid today for just $349 each or $598 for both bottles, and get 2 of the newest and what will be known as one of the best releases of 2019 on your shelf. Thanks for tuning in, and happy World Whiskey Month. Make it one to remember by ordering these legendary bottles today.